You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Well, hello everyone, and there you all are. I'm glad to see you all coming in tonight, and happy 4th of July. That's something we couldn't really say when we were in the Watchtower, could we? But we are having a good program here tonight. You just heard from Fran and Joe, and my name's Rick Farron. I'm up here in Boston. I'm at the control panel of the Six Screens Telenetwork, and I have to say something. It is just totally amazing to me, all of the new people that are coming into the network, all the people that are leaving the Watchtower, and they want to find out. They want to find out what really is going on with this evil cult. Well, I'll tell you what, we have got a lot of things planned for tonight. If you haven't heard, we have coming on around 9:30. We have Vern from Canada, the Fixing My Faith man. We all love him. The little dance is very humorous man. He's got a great program on YouTube. He'll be coming on tonight right after JW World News. So we're looking forward to him tonight. A few things I want to talk about, then we'll get right into tonight's program because we've got a lot to talk about. But I wanted to talk about that convention. Yes, we are going to have a large convention. In fact, it'll be hopefully the largest ex-Jehovah's Witness convention or gathering in the history of the Jehovah's Witness religion. We are going to have it up here in Boston. It's going to be at the Hilton Hotel. And we are really putting things together. I've been in contact with people and get the programs all arranged. Now that convention's still alive in 2025 that we're going to hold. That's going to be in August, not this August, but August of 2025. So you have a whole year to plan for it. It's going to be August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And we are going to have a tremendous time. Just to give an idea, on Friday, we're going to have a meet and greet. And we're going to give everyone who wants to an opportunity to speak up and talk and tell us where they came from and how they disconnected from the Watchtower. Everyone's going to get a chance to do that. So it'll take a good part of the day, I'm sure. So if you can be with us and tell your experience, we would love that. And then, of course, on Friday night, we're going to have some talks. We have some authors that will be coming. We have also some videos, videographers, that is, people who produce YouTube videos will also be coming to the convention. But I'll give you all that rundown as we go further. The program is being put together. Now, you can order a room. You can't do it now because you can't order a room at the Hilton until August. They will only take orders from a year out. So beginning August 1st, if you're interested in coming, the tickets are free. But if you're interested in coming, let me know. Say, Rick, give me a ticket. Now, I have everybody that sent me tickets. I know people are worried. They go, Rick, did you get it? I got it. But you have to send it to me at jwworldnews@gmail.com. I got people sending me stuff on Facebook, sending me stuff on the comments at YouTube, sending me stuff to my website. If you would, so that I will get it. I tried to monitor all of that, but I have a hard time watching it all. So if you can say, Rick, send me the tickets, write to jwworldnews@gmail.com. And I know a lot of people, we got over 200 people. We got about 238, somewhere around there, people that have committed themselves to coming to the convention. Now, we only have room in the main auditorium for 500 people. So you'll be able to, get your ticket. It'll be numbered. And so you'll have a seat. Now, if we do have an overflow, you can kind of, peek in the door or stand by the doorway or whatever. But it looks like we're going to it looks more than likely that we're going to fill that auditorium. So that's going to be a wonderful thing. Let me just show you something. I'm going to show you something. This is the Hilton Hotel. Now, just to give you an idea, if you're going to make it up here, let me show you some pictures here of the Hilton. I just want to give you an idea. Now, I know the Hilton Hotel is like an upscale hotel. It's not cheap. It's going to be about $170 to $180 a night. Now, but it's a really nice place. and they have got that comes with a full sit-down breakfast. I'm not talking about a cheese Danish and a Sarah Lee Danish. I'm talking about a sit-down breakfast where you can sit down and have a good day. That breakfast alone sells for $17. But if you book a room and there's two people in the room, they each get a breakfast. So that's kind of a good deal. Plus, we're in walking distance. Yeah, there's a McDonald's, a Wendy's, a Cracker Barrel. There's a Circle K convenience store, a Dunkin' Donuts. So it's all within walking distance. So you don't have to eat at the hotel. But we're looking forward to you coming. And if you, it's the Hilton Hotel in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. It's called Hilton Gardens, beginning August 1st. If you want to make a reservation for the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of August, well, by all means do that. Use the code FEARON, FEARON. We'll give you more announcements as we get closer to August. So that's it. Let me show you a picture. I just want to show you a picture. I've been back and forth to this hotel, and it's really, really nice. Take a look. This is the lobby here. Well, that's they have a little fire pit there. You can sit around the fire pit. This is the lobby right here. Oh, it's so big and spacious, and the bedrooms are so nice as well. Beautiful, beautiful setup. Plus, we're going to be live streaming. So even if you can't make it to the convention, we're going to live stream, and we're going to try to do it all. We're going to try to have no programs missed. So we're setting that all up now to make sure we can really do a good job with that. All right, let me exit this. All right, so that's a convention. If you can make the convention, that'll be great. And if you can make it just in a couple of weeks up here to Boston, once again, we have a protest. Yes, we are going to be at the Tsongas Center in Lowell, Massachusetts. There's a regional convention there, and we're going to be out front of it. And what a vantage spot we have. When all the witnesses leave, they have to drive right by us. And we had such a blast 2 years ago. We had the signs of witnesses were giving us thumbs up. There was a lot of PMOs. And what we plan on doing is sending a woman into the convention with a hotspot so that we can stay connected with her. She's going to be there all day. I know she's going to get questioned. She's going to be questioned by the security guards because they're really looking out for apostates, but we're going to try to sneak her in there, and she's going to film what's going on. I want to see the expressions on the faces of the witnesses with their convention this year. So that's going to happen. Now, if you can make it to the protest, it's going to be July 20th. Now, that falls on a Saturday. So I rented a suite at that same Hilton, and the witnesses are going to be staying there. That's where the convention is. So I rented a suite. Now, we're not going to be, all over the witnesses, but we'll have a program live from that suite, that hotel suite, and we'll have people up to the room after for the who protested with us. And we hope to get some PMOs. We get some masks for them, and they could come up in our room and talk with us and tell us what they think about the Jehovah's Witness organization. Now, I'm not sure that's going to happen. Sometimes I have big dreams. It doesn't happen, but I think we might be able to get a couple of PMOs, and I'll have the voice changer too, so no one will recognize their voice. So that would be great, wouldn't it? To get a PMO up in our hotel room on our live broadcast. So that'll be broadcasting on Saturday night, be July 20th, right from the Hilton. So that's wonderful. Now, also, before we get into the news, I want to talk about the duck. You see the duck. He's right here. Now, that duck would love to come down tonight. If anyone who calls into the program and they say the secret word, we have a number of secret words in a sealed envelope. So if the secret word is said by someone calling in, they're going to win a prize. You say, well, what are they going to win? Well, we have, look at this here. There is a reproduced book, Millions Now Living Will Never Die. You can get that book, or the Bible versus Science. That's a Watchtower publication. Maybe you haven't heard of it, but it is. And how about this one here? A People for His Name. This is all about some of the officials of the Watchtower. That's a good one. And I'm going to tell you one of my favorite right here, my wife's favorite, Captives of a Concept. Yes, that's Don Cameron. And that is a wonderful publication. It really gets into the nitty-gritty of the Watchtower and why they've been able to pull the biggest hoax off in American religion. So we want to thank Jim Hill. He is known as Nathan Natus on JWN. That's a discussion board online. Thank you, Jim, if you're listening. So anyways, let's take a look. Let's see what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Let me just look at this. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I've been following the conventions. The 2024 convention for Jehovah's Witnesses is tanking. It is tanking. I've got some pictures I'm going to show you. But first of all, I'm going to talk about how paranoid the Jehovah's Witnesses are. They're having these conventions all around the world, but they're so paranoid that an apostate or some opposer is going to sneak through the doors and raise havoc in the organization. So we'll get into that as well. But I just want to tell you, at the Long Beach convention last weekend, now that is one of the biggest conventions the Jehovah's Witnesses hold in the whole country. And generally in the past, they would get anywhere from 8, 9, 10, up to 15,000 people that would attend that convention. Well, guess how much they had last week? How many people were in attendance? 4,285. That is historically low. Historically low. Now, I got information from one man that went there, and he wanted to just see what was going on. So he went to the convention, and he was asked 20 questions at the door on who he was, why he was there. They were treating him like a criminal, he told me. Now, they are really paranoid, like I say. And just about every entrance, they have 6 ministerial servants or elders that are watching everybody. They are just concerned that someone's going to come in and really raise havoc with them. In any other religious convention, even in a church setting, what they do is they open the doors wide and they have someone like a greeter. Hi, welcome to our church. Welcome to our convention. But I mean, at the Jehovah's Witness convention, people are being interrogated. God's people, I mean, this is the most loving organization on the planet. That's what they say. Well, they're making people feel very unwelcome. I mean, imagine being interrogated when you walk into the convention. That's exactly what's happening. And this brother, excuse me, that gave me the information on that convention in California, he says the seats were full of old people and almost no one else. Now, what would you think? You walk into a convention, you see all these old people, really no one else. Now, I got some pictures here I want to show you. Now, this isn't last week's convention. This is the convention a week before. And let's take a look at it. I believe this is the one. I got to hear it is right here. Yeah. So there's a picture. That was a week before. Now you take a look at the empty seats. There's tons of empty seats. I even believe that this brother that gave me the information, and when he went to just this week, it's even less. So there you have it. I think I have another view too from another angle. Long Beach. Yeah, take a look at this one. So you can see that there's a lot of empty seats here. That's not the way it's always been. When you and me and so many people listening into this program, when you used to go to conventions in the 80s and 90s and 70s and even the early 2000s, they were packed. I mean, you had a hard time even getting a seat. Remember, you had to kind of leave your hotel room early and run down and put your coat or a book bag. They didn't want you to do it. But in order to get a seat, you had to do that. Well, you don't have to do that now. Don't have to do that at all. You can see all the empty seats. And last week I showed you some other conventions around the world. It's unbelievable. And it really makes my heart rejoice. But I'm even sad to see still so many going there. when you stop and think about it, I wish they wouldn't get anyone. I wish more and more witnesses would say, that's it, I had enough. But, one of the questions, one of the questions I'm sure they ask at the door, are you a Jehovah's Witness? What congregation do you go to? So the man telling me, the brother, that he was asked 20 questions. Now, the thing is, one of the elders that was standing at the door, he actually told this man that gave me the information that they're very concerned about opposers and people who are against the Watchtower. So they're trying to protect the people inside. He mentioned, or at least he was thinking this, why aren't they more concerned about the people that they've hurt in the organization? The Watchtower really has hurt tens of thousands. What about all of the tens of thousands of people who committed suicide? Were they more concerned about maybe an opposer gets in there? Well, I mean, really, why would an opposer get in there? Probably because they're being shunned, right? Or because they have friends that committed suicide. So they should be really addressing that issue and saying, why do we have opposers? Why do we have so-called apostates? Because really, when you stop and think about it, that is creating real havoc in the organization to the point that the witness organization is becoming very, very paranoid. In fact, even in the last year 2 years ago, we went to the convention up in Lowell. We sent a young woman in that was with us, and she was dressed up like one of Jehovah's Witnesses. But boy, they questioned her like crazy when she wanted to go in. And they said, why are you here? Why did you want to come to the convention? So she made a story up that, well, my sister invited me. Then we had another man that we tried to send in. And boy, he had the hardest time getting by the elders that were questioning him at the door. So this isn't your grandfather's organization anymore. And even also at some of the memorials and even some of the conventions, at one of the memorials, one man was telling me that back in 2007, and they really weren't even suspicious as they are now, but back then, he said there was some elders, ministerial servants, walking up and down the aisles looking like Secret Service men on the hunt for assassins. I mean, that's how bad it's getting. It's really something. I mean, it would turn off a very so suppose a person was an interested person and they wanted to come to the convention for the first time. Don't you think they would turn an interested person off if they have to, even though they've got an invitation, they still give out convention invitations? So you say, gee, I'll go check out what's going on with the Jehovah's Witness convention. And then you're interrogated with 20 questions before you can even get into the auditorium. Now, I can understand, given the shootings inside the Hamburg, Germany Kingdom Hall and the bombings that took place over in India, the Kingdom Hall. So I can understand that the witnesses are on high alert. But I do believe that they got to kind of let loose here a little bit. I don't think they're really overly concerned about someone coming in and shooting. I think they're more concerned about an apostate coming in and yelling the truth. I really do. I believe they're more concerned about that, or someone coming in and speaking up and letting the witnesses know how false they are. So generally, they would never question you years ago if you didn't have a badge, but they're looking for badges. They're looking for something to connect you to the witness world. As a matter of fact, in some convention sites, they're actually getting outside help with private security companies coming in and helping them to kind of look secure and keep the place safe. And like I say, in view of the Kingdom Hall bombings and murder, I can understand it to some degree, but a good part of this has to do with opposers and apostates coming into the convention. It warms my heart. It truly does. It warms my heart that this cult is so worried about those who are entering the doors at conventions and Kingdom Halls. Dick Borgie, what do you have to say? Yeah, Dick.
Just a quick thought. When we were protesting at the Songus Arena a year and a half ago. Me and Kleiner were sitting on a bench, and here comes an elder. I believe he was an elder with this lanyard and his picture on it, and looked like the CIA or one of the president's protectors, Secret Service. And he comes up on this electric bike, and he gives us, both me and Kleiner were sitting on the bench, and he gave us this real stern look. I jumped up and I walked over to him and I said, "Whatever happened to 1975?" And he gave some kind of a story that the apostles were asking Jesus, when will this be? And they didn't know. And he says there's a parallel to that. I said, well, no, not really, because you're saying that the governing body is directly related to Jehovah, the Holy Spirit. And he just looked at me with, at first, a real stern look. And then after I approached him with that, he turned his little electric bike and off he went. Thank you.
Well, you're absolutely right, Dick. No, that was good. You're up here with us. And, well, they're going to be more. We're going to be out there in 2 weeks from today. And they're going to be more. They're going to be more on the alert, looking out for apostates and opposers. As a matter of fact, the word is getting out that there's more and more people that are protesting at these conventions, and it's got the Watchtower organization all up. They don't know what to do because they know more and more people are coming out. They are destroying families. Well, what do you think happens when you destroy a family? I mean, that is a precious possession. To have a family, to have your children, your mother, your father, your grandpa, your grandma, and to have all of these aunts and uncles, and, suppose they were witnesses, then you leave. You're done. You're cooked. And you think people take this lightly? The Watchtower's paranoid over this. They're afraid. They've been destroying relationships for so many years now. And people are getting upset with it. I mean, I'm not encouraging anything bad to happen, but what do you think? What do you think happens when you keep doing things to people? Well, why does the mafia? Why does the mafia all of a sudden, even they have problems? They do dirty dealings, and from time to time you hear bad news about the mafia, right? Well, that's what's going on. The witnesses, they've hurt so many people. Jesus, plenty of people have total dislike. They can't stand this organization. And, some of these people are on the edge. You need security. In fact, even some of the international conventions, you know what they're doing? They're actually printing out tickets. They're so afraid that someone's going to come in that they're printing out tickets. So you actually have to have a ticket to get into their convention. So, I mean, I just want to bring this all up tonight because I think you can all understand. How would you feel? How would just put yourself in the shoes of an interested person that would like to hear the message. Maybe they live near the convention arena and they have nothing else to do on a Saturday afternoon. Gee, I think I'll go over and see what the Jehovah's Witnesses are all about. Then you walk in and you got 6 men there interrogating you. You think you'd stay? What would you think? My goodness gracious. It's unbelievable. But anyways,
Mr. Barron?
Yes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is going to scare people away. I mean, if I go any place and I see armed guards or I see some kind of presence where people are trying to maintain some kind of level of security or something, my first instinct is, well, why do they need to do that? And then I assess, do I really need to be here? And I get out of there.
Yeah.
I don't even go to gas stations if they've got that bulletproof glass. So you're absolutely right. They're going to scare off people.
Yeah, it's just a natural thing. It's just, I don't care how tough you are, especially a guy with a family. Maybe a guy can walk in, it won't bother him too much. But geez, you got your wife, you got 3 or 4 little kids, and you stopped at the door. You think they just cut them some slack, but they're not. They're going to be questioned too. Everybody gets questioned. That's their procedure. Everybody gets questioned, and they're looking for things. They're training. They're actually training the ministerial servants and the elders on how to spot an apostate. What would you look for? We're gonna, like I say, we're gonna send a person in. We just bought her a nice dress. My wife bought her a nice dress, and we're gonna dress her up like a Jehovah's Witness. We're going to send her into the convention here in a couple of weeks. Now, how would you spot an apostate? Now, see what's going on here as of late, because witnesses can now wear beards. Women can now wear pants, suits, so to speak, or even slacks. So you got these people that kind of look different than Jehovah's Witnesses used to look. So that's going to put the security of the witnesses really to the test. How do you really spot an apostate? Well, what are you looking for? Don't you think the apostates are smart enough to kind of dress up like a witness? But how do you dress up like a witness today? Anything goes as far as dress. So they're going to be having a rough time. But I do know one thing. They are practicing. They are having drills at the Kingdom Halls for ministerial servants and elders on how to spot an apostate. Well, some of us, including myself, and I know this for a fact, I am on facial recognition at the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses. And they do have some of us apostates, so to speak, on facial recognition. Now, I don't know if they're going to use that at the conventions, but I tried to get into Watchtower once when Dick Borgie was with me, in fact, back in 2014. We went down to Watchtower, 25 Columbia Heights. And I was told that they had facial recognition, that if I walked through the door, they're going to notice me. I didn't believe it. I really, really didn't. And so I figured, no, Dick, I don't think they do. I don't think that's sophisticated yet. So we walked through the door of 25 Columbia Heights, and I didn't walk 10 feet inside the world headquarters, and there was 3 brothers all dressed up in blue blazers with jw.org, and they said, "You're Rick Farron, right?" I said, "Yeah." "Well, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, we came to talk to the governing body. I want to talk to Brother Loesch." At the time, I knew him. But see, they picked up on it. So some of the apostates are, they do have facial recognition. They can get it easy now with actually, there's so many things that facial recognition a few years ago was kind of hard to do, but now even your bank is doing it. Google is doing it. They can get your picture right off the internet, and boom, there's your face. So they might have. I don't think they're going to have that at conventions, but who knows? If it continues on the way it is, they will. Well, before we move to another story, what do you think? What do you think? Would you walk into a convention if you were going to be interrogated? I don't know. I mean, I think I'd still go, but I think it would kind of rub me the wrong way. I really, really do. So I don't know what you think. Maybe it wouldn't bother you. Maybe it wouldn't bother you. But I mean, if you go into a sporting event, they don't stop and ask you questions. Maybe if you're carrying in a cooler or something, they think a bomb is in there, but they don't stop you and ask you questions. Now, we had last time, 2 years ago, I believe it was 2 years ago, we did that convention. I don't think it was last year, it was 2 years ago. We did the convention at the Tsonga Center. And we did send a man in there as well as a woman to try to get some pictures for us. And boy, they followed that man all over the stadium. He said they were watching me everywhere I went, everything I did, every breath I took, just like the song, right? And then when he went to leave, as he was walking out the door, a few elders surrounded him. "Why'd you come here today?" And then they wanted to know if he was part of the group that was protesting. Well, he kind of fluffed that off a little bit, but there was a cop there. So they evidently called the cop over and said, this man is trying to create issues. He wasn't trying to create any issues, but they were kind of implying to the cop that, you really have to watch people like this. So, I mean, they are just to the point of over the top when it comes to the security measures. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about some other things that are going on in the Watchtower. And friends, there's tons of things going on, and you know it. And I have to tell you, I would say one of the biggest stories. Now, I've been doing this for almost 20 years. It'll be 20 years, January 26th. And I've been doing this program every Saturday night, never missed a Saturday night. And I'm saying right now, we have more news about the Watchtower than we have ever had since the inception of the Six Screens Telenetwork. Now, let me tell you, there is a big power struggle in the organization right now. Well, what makes me think that? Maybe you're thinking the same thing. Do you know what a power struggle is? Generally, in the world of business, a power struggle is when there's certain officials of the business, whether they be CEOs, CFOs, whether they be just district managers, whatever they would be, people in high capacities of business. There's a power struggle when they disagree with each other. Now, do you believe there's a power struggle going on in the Watchtower? Well, I got thinking about it this week. I would have to say yes. And you say, well, what would make me think that? It has to do with the August 24th Jehovah's Witness Watchtower magazine. There's a power struggle. First of all, the magazine did not even come out in time. This is the first time ever in the history of the Watchtower where it didn't come out in time. As a matter of fact, the September edition of the Watchtower magazine came out before the August edition of the Watchtower magazine. Now here we have two factions. I'm gonna lay it on the line here. It seems to me, but I don't know for sure because the Watchtower is very private. But it seems to me that there right now are two factions in the Watchtower, and they are fighting each other at headquarters. In other words, what I'm saying is that not all of the high officials of the Watchtower really are on the same page with one another. Now, the old guard, which includes the governing body, well, they are now versing the legal department. So we got two departments, governing body and the legal department. The legal department is on the front lines trying to defend a non-defendable set of policies that have been in place for decades. Yeah, that's the legal department. They're trying to help the Watchtower from getting their pantsuit off in countries like Norway and other places around the world. So we have two factions. The legal department, yep, they are trying to maneuver things in such a way to, defend off lawsuits. But then we have the old guard, the governing body, and they are hard, fast governing body Jehovah's Witnesses, and they might not want to bend on a lot of these things. Now, the legal department, first of all, let me tell you something. I will say the governing body is stupid. The governing body is stupid, but the legal department is not stupid. The legal department's not stupid. They actually understand the complex topics of human rights and the rights of minors. The legal department gets that. And they know that if the organization is going to continue to exist long into the future, they must convince the organization to drop the archaic policies. So the legal department, I'm sure, is going to the governing body and saying, hey, you got to drop some of this stuff. We're getting in trouble in Norway. We're getting in trouble in Japan. We're getting in trouble in Belgium. We're getting in trouble in all over the world. Really, there's 12, 15 countries right now that are coming down on the witnesses. So they're telling the governing body, look at you guys, you're hard, fast in your ways. You stay that way, we're going to lose this whole organization. So what we got to do is we have to drop some of the archaic policies. Yeah. So the old guard at Watchtower, they don't understand any of this. They don't. So I think that was one of the reasons why the Watchtower 2024 edition August was held up. I believe that the powers to be at Watchtower were kind of arguing with each other. Very unsettling for some. They didn't want it to come out. Some wanted to come out. So I think they needed more time to be able to negotiate this. So see, the governing body, they feel that God is leading them. They really do. They feel that God, Jehovah God, is leading them and giving them the right decisions, meet in due season, so to speak. And so what they do is they look at this fellowshipping as a very useful tool, as long as they can remember that anyone that talks against the policy is clearly working for Satan. See, they feel that, look, if the legal department wants to do away with this fellowshipping and not have it, then that is something that is something that was set up. This fellowshipping is something that God set up, and anyone that's going against that is actually working for Satan. This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the governing body's thinking that of the legal department. Don't do away with some of this stuff. God wants us to continue to do this. So they were up in arms on what to do. Up in arms on what to do. Do we disfellowship? Do we not disfellowship? What are we going to do? So we know what they did. They basically just changed the term. But we'll get into that in a second. We'll get there in a second. So, they allow the Watchtower governing body, the old school, so to speak. They viewed the wicked one would have to be removed, disfellowship, in order to keep control in the organization. That's how the governing body always viewed it. So the power struggle is there. We got the old fellas, the old governing body versus the legal department. And the legal department is saying, if you want to survive, if you want this religion that you have had here for 100 years to survive, we must end this fellowshipping and shunning. This is my own thinking, friends. Don't take it to the bank and cash it. It's just my own thinking. After doing this program and putting pieces of the puzzle together, I'm seeing that there's a power struggle. And I'm seeing that the legal department is going to struggle with the old school Jehovah's Witness governing body. If you want this religion to survive, get rid of this fellowshipping. The nations are coming down on us. People are really having a hard time with it. You're breaking families apart. People aren't going to stay around. So the old guard, the old guard, I should say, the old guard, that would be the officials, the higher up governing body members. They are saying, we will never change. We will never change our scriptural position on this fellowshipping. Now, where did I come up with that statement? That's what Tony Morris said right before he was taken off. Right before he was taken off of the governing body, he did make that comment that we're not going to change our position on this fellowshipping. Well, he's not with the Watchtower anymore. But that was one of the last. That's one of the last positions that he had. So I have room for at least believing some of the things I'm saying here may be truthful. So well, let me put it this way to you. The Watchtower is got to do something, according to the legal department, with the word disfellowship. So anyways, what they did is they came out with the August 24 Watchtower, which we all have now and all have read it. And I mean, there's like 4 or 5 study articles all about disfellowshipping. Never in the history of the Jehovah's Witnesses has there been that many articles about it. So something's up. So all the powers of Watchtower, they all sat down together and they come up with, okay, we really can't remove disfellowship. We won't call it that anymore. Let's just see, this is how the Watchtower thinks. They think that they can change words and it's magic. And sometimes it does work that way. The government does it too. But let's just stay with the Watchtower. So they're saying, all right, legal department, we won't call it disfellowship. We'll just say that you're being removed. But isn't it the same? Has anything really changed? So now also the congregation is also considering here, they're going to be the ones to do the marking. This article in the 24 Watchtower, August, speaks also about marking. Let me just read you a little portion of this because I think it's very important that I do this. Let me just find it here. It's here somewhere. Just give me a second. It's here. Just give me a second to find it. Okay, that's not it. Okay, that's not it. Where is it? Okay, where'd I go? Well, let me just read it to you. Let me just paraphrase what it said. So there's a little box in the 2024 August magazine, and it talks about marking and how the Watchtower has taken a new position on marking. You all know what marking is, right? Okay, let's suppose that you were smoking, or you got involved in a kind of a shady deal, or something went wrong with you. And so they didn't disfellowship you, but they marked you. So they wouldn't read like Brother Farron's been marked, but they would give a local needs talk, and then say maybe if Brother Farron was smoking a cigarette, they'd have an article, a local needs talk about smoking. So everybody got the point that Brother Farron was disfellowship for smoking a cigarette. So they have a way of doing that. So the elders no longer are going to do the marking. That's according to the August 24 Watchtower. Who's going to do the marking? Who when we have bad people in the congregation, who's going to do the marking? Well, it's going to be the congregation. Let them mark the people. Well, what would happen if a person is marked? Let's say Susie in the congregation's marked. Well, what happens to Susie? Well, she won't be invited to any gatherings. She won't be invited to the brothers and sisters' homes. That's it for Susie. Stick a fork on her. Take her off the grill. She's done. It's the same thing. So, but the congregation here is going to be the ones put in the position of marking. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? In fact, I'll tell you what, my good friend Eric down there in Tennessee, he has a program here on the Six Screens. We talked about it this week. He says, Rick, I would rather be judged by 3 elders in a judicial committee room than be judged by the whole congregation. Well, maybe you feel the same way. I feel the same way. So this isn't really going to help the situation any. I think this is going to make it worse. So it's just amazing to me what the Watchtower can do and think they can get away with it. But anyways, the congregation is going to be the ones that will do the marking. Don't you think that can get out of hand or out of control? What if you have someone that has a personal vendetta? Let's suppose that Sister Smith can't stand the other sister in the hall, Sister Jones. Sister Jones flirts with her elder husband. I can't stand that, Sister Jones. So she sends out to all of her friends, let's mark Sister Jones. Could that happen? Yes, it could. This is bizarre.
Absolutely good, Rick.
Yeah.
And you know what? We all know that in the even today, the congregations are loaded with gossip. Anytime somebody's disfellowshipped or a relationship breaks up, whatever, there's gossip. What's going to happen if they implement this? That the congregations are going to implode. Thank you, Rick.
It certainly could turn into a witch hunt, especially where women are concerned, because all they have are the social Bible studies and little tea parties. And if you're taught not to be part of the world, and then you're pushed out in the congregation to not be part of that, that can lead to all kinds of mental breakdowns, suicides, and problems.
Well, Pixie, that's exactly right. Did they gossip in your congregation when you were one of Jehovah's Witnesses?
When I was a young girl, I did nothing wrong, and I brought the young man to the Kingdom Hall with my parents' permission. I had known him my entire life. And somebody told me after that there was a marking talk. So I don't know if I was marked or not, but they kind of treated me badly after that, and they pushed my dad out when the elder arrangement came in, and he had worked tirelessly on behalf of every person that sat in those seats. So I've seen a little bit of it. And when you're an A student and you dress modestly and you answer questions and you're in the Kingdom Ministry School and you've done nothing wrong, I don't smoke or drink to this day, people can still find a witch hunt.
Hello, Rick.
Yes.
Hi, Rick. These cat fights between these women can get pretty darn ugly in the Kingdom Hall.
They can.
Oh my God! And I was going to say, Rick, and I'm sorry, Pixie, that happened to you. I'm not laughing at you, but I'm just saying some of these sisters need to get a life. I mean, they really do.
They don't. That's it. They don't have a life.
They don't. But you know what it reminds me of is what God says in his word, that a house that's divided will not stand. And I can just see this being a total domino destruction in the kingdom halls. I mean, I agree with what the brother said. You know, with 3 elders, that's going to probably be a piece of cake compared to all these cat fights and everybody judging one another. I mean, where in the heck is the love in this organization? It's not. It's written all over the world.
It's still painful to me to think about it to this day. And one young man, his haircut didn't suit them. He went out to the barber and got a really nice haircut, and they criticized it and said it was too 1950s Elvis style. And why didn't he have it cut straight across from the back? He was in near tears. This is 50 years ago, but I can remember what was done in direction of the young people who just wanted a safe place.
Yeah, well, there is no safe place in that cult, and there isn't.
No.
My mother had mental issues. She had mental problems, and the elders accused her of having a demon. And a lot of people found out years ago, all of that gossip. It was really terrible.
I'm sorry that happened to her. I know someone with a neurological condition that was accused of the same thing. Now, how scientific and how good is that medical advice? It's not, and it's dangerous. The Kingdom Hall is not a safe place. It's not just them wanting the houses of older people. It's not just them asking for money from people that need groceries. They give medical advice that can be dangerous and life-threatening.
Yeah. Well, you're right, Pixie. Hey, let's bring in, let's go to 804. Area code 804. You want to come in and say hello to us? 804? Hit *6. All right, 804. That's okay if you don't want to speak up.
Say something, Rick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, they were going to give a marketing talk about me
Yes,
years ago. I was a teenager.
Talking about my mother.
Oh, yeah,
Hello?
I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll get right. Go ahead, sir. Yep.
I was just giving you a little something about my mother years ago, and how she had mental problems, trying to keep up with one of her pioneer friends, trying to get the hours. And when she couldn't make it, she would actually have kind of a mental breakdown. And the elders, they would not be very kind to her, and they would say that she had a demon. And our whole family has been broken up over all of this stuff, all of these years. Just really cruel. Okay, I'll go now.
Well, Jim, I'm sorry to hear that, brother. Sorry to hear that. Let's go back to 209. 209, come on back.
Yeah, I was just saying they were going to give a marketing talk about me once. Your sister came in the hall. I'm in my 50s now, so I was a teenager. I think I was baptized for a year. I was baptized when I was 14, so I had to be about 15. And a sister came in, and she sat next to me, and she said, "Can I sit here?" Go ahead. So she sat there, and they thought it was my date. So they were going to give a marketing talk, and they thought that she was trying to marry me because she had a baby. And they cornered me in the restroom. 2 elders and a servant stood by the door to block anyone from coming in. And I just thought, I don't know her. I don't know who she is. She just came and sat right by me. And one elder said, "Well, why would somebody just come sit right by you?" So they cornered her, and she said, "I don't know him." Matter of fact, she was even to fellowship visiting from another state. And I didn't know her. She didn't know me. She just sat right by me. And they said, we didn't have to want to give a marketing talk. But just to piggyback off what you said earlier, I had a part at that Long Beach convention. That is the smallest I ever seen it. We've been there since '94. That's the smallest I ever seen Long Beach. So I guess it is. It's just really tanky. Talking to friends who don't go anymore. Whole families are coming out here in California. I don't know about elsewhere, but whole families are coming out. And that's the smallest I ever seen it, or least in attendance. I remember at Dodger Stadium, we used to pack the house with at least 80, 90,000 for the 4-day weekend when there were 4 days and 3 days. But that's the smallest I've ever seen in Long Beach.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, brother. Thank you. Let's go to 714. 714, you're on with us.
Hi, Rick.
Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to say that from what I've seen throughout many, many years, and in my opinion, that this has already been going on, especially with sisters. I don't know so much about brothers, but I know with the sisters, very judgmental, and the gossiping, and out in service, especially in the car groups, the gossiping about, oh, I don't like this person, I don't like that person, and that they don't get invited anywhere. And so I truly believe that this marking from the congregation has already been going on for years. They just made it official now in the Watchtower. And that's my personal opinion.
Well, that sounds like that could be the case, Nadine. I wouldn't rule that out at all. Well, thank you. Always good to hear from Nadine. Thank you, Nadine.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you, it's so good to hear all these people calling in, friends. I have to tell you, I don't know what you think, but I'm thinking the Watchtower is really putting their foot in their mouth. Now, we were talking about the power struggle. We talked about the legal department. We talked about the hard line governing body that doesn't want to change. Well, I'm going to add another equation. I'm going to add another party to the power struggle. And that would be the financial people. That would be the people that work in the treasury of the Watchtower, the accountants, the people that understand the numbers, how much money's coming in. So I'm going to say the financial department, they might really rule the roost here when you stop and think about it. In fact, the financial department, they can see exactly how their religion is doing every month when the donations come in, right? I mean, that's the lifeblood and pulse of any business is financial.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. You're right, Pixie. So what we got here is the lifeblood is the pulse of any business. When the money runs out, there no longer is a business. So, I mean, you got to really think of their position. What's going on? Now, businesses, as we know, they typically measure their performance by the amount of money that's coming in. And there is one thing that they always do. We always know that the bottom line is the most important thing to any business. And, see, if you watch the business news, you see them come on and, the CEOs, they want to make their business really sound good. They want to tell you they're bringing all this money in. The Watchtower does the same thing. But the Watchtower really, it's all about donations. And really, the Watchtower financial department, the legal department, even the governing body, that they're not concentrating on the amount of field service hours. They're not concentrating on baptisms. They're not concentrating on just fellowshipping. They're concentrating on donations. Donations tell the Watchtower everything. It gives them feedback in real time. So all of a sudden, if 3 months ago you were taking in, $10 million a month, and now all of a sudden this month you took in 3 million. Oh my goodness, you're going to start pounding the table here. That's why. In fact, I'm just thinking here out loud more than anything. I'm thinking that's why we see so many posts, so many YouTube videos on how the Watchtower keeps hounding people to come to the meetings in person. Get off of Zoom, come to the meetings in person. Why? Well, because they have contribution boxes on the wall. It's very hard to put money in a contribution box when you're watching on Zoom. So if a person doesn't show up in person, they can't drop money into the money box. It's all about money.
I think they're going to go with the streaming platform.
Yeah, well, and probably people have to pay for a subscription. So, the Watchtower, they're seeing less money come in. I don't have to even. You can take it to the bank and cash that one. You can. I'm not blowing wind here when I tell you they are seeing a lot less money coming in. It's not hard to figure that out. That they are making very hard decisions.
The songs, Rick, that there's nothing about it when I looked at it again There's nothing about it that you and most of our listeners would even recognize.
It's altogether different. Did you want to say something? 712. I think that's Jeff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Rick. Where a lot of these religious organizations get their money, and I know a lot of ex-witnesses that left and their parents stayed in. Watchtower got their houses. They got any kind of savings that they had, their parents had. It's unbelievable how many that I've talked to that have told me this. And backing up about being disfellowshipped, to have two elders decide whether you're out or not. They have the congregation. These congregations are radical now because the people that are staying in them are radical. They're nuts. Because the information's out there. And a lot of people have left because, they've done the research. But anyway.
Hey, Rick?
Yeah, Jeff, good to hear from you. Go ahead. Who's this, Dick, is it? No, might
This
be.
is Scott.
Oh, Scott. Yes, go ahead, Scott.
Scott from Florida.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, going back to that individual marking, I think the problem with that is like what happened with my wife. When an elder's wife took my wife in the back and told her, and I'm serious, told her she looked like a whore. Now, I was a ministerial servant and was considered well-respected in the congregation, yet she took my wife back, I guess, deciding upon her own to give her this counsel, and my wife was absolutely devastated from this woman. And this woman claimed that she was trying to seduce her husband, and we were told that their adult sons, who we did some things with, recreational stuff, we were no longer allowed to associate with them because of her. And so my wife dressed very classy. Now she was a good-looking woman, and she dressed classy. So I'm like, what do I do? So I went to another elder, and he's telling me just to ignore it. Just ignore what she says. Some people, she doesn't understand that some people like to be more stylish and keep up with the styles. So, but how does that help somebody like my wife, who was devastated by this elder's wife, who basically marked her, right? And then you got other elders saying, oh, don't worry about it. So I just think this marking thing is going to be disastrous because you're going to create situations like this where people won't know whether to respect the person or not. That's all.
Well, Scott, that is an excellent comment. And you had it happen to you personally. Your wife, like you say, was a classy dresser, but she was just making the sisters jealous. She's a good-looking woman.
Yeah, she was a heavy-set woman. She was kind of a Karen-ish type woman. Her personality, she was kind of like a Karen,
Yeah.
So I guess she decided to take it upon herself. And really, ultimately, it should have been discussed with me because, but going by JW standards, the husband's the head, and it's up to me to police my wife's dress and how she dresses, not somebody else. So really, if somebody had an issue with it, or if this elder or the wife did, they should have had somebody say something to me first. But no, they took her to the back room. This sister took it upon herself and called her a whore. And I'm not making that up. She actually used that word. I mean, I don't know how unloving you can get if you want to counsel somebody because you think their skirt is a little too short or something about their dress is inappropriate. You don't start out by calling them a whore.
Well, Scott, that's cruel. That is cruel. That sister had a vendetta against your wife. You don't do that.
And it hurt my wife for years. Thankfully, we moved out of that congregation shortly after that, and that's when we moved to Florida. But it's still, she never forgot it. I mean, it's not something that's easily forgot.
Boy, it's not. Now, that happened up here in New England, you say?
Yeah, Chelmsford.
Yeah,
Over
well,
there in Chelmsford.
well, that's why I'm finding, in fact, that's why we have more apostates up here. That's why I call it the apostate capital of the world, because of the cruel tactics of the elders. They knock people out of this organization faster than anywhere in the country. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, thank you, Scott. Good to hear from you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, let's see what else we get going. Let's go to 61. Is it 812? Oh, okay, that was Scott. Let's go to 978. I think it's Dick Bogey.
Well, it's me calling in this time, Rick. I was going to say, as far as that brother is concerned, this is how some women can be. They can be really ugly when it comes to jealousy and envy. And yeah, Scott's right. As the head of his wife, he should have been the one that was approached. But this sister was so evil and so vindictive and jealous. She tried to destroy his wife. And, people get stumbled over this. Like Scott said, his wife was deeply hurt by this, and she should have been. And I'm sure she was a real classy sister the way she dressed. But the sister that was so jealous, she couldn't control her tongue, and she had to be vicious like a pit bull, And it's these kinds of things where women can be really, really nasty. They can be really, really. If you've ever worked for a female boss, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Not all.
Yeah, my wife was a hairdresser, so she was very much into dressing, very professionally, very classy, with her hair and makeup and jewelry and everything. It's just the way she was. I used to jokingly say my wife wouldn't go check the mail at the mailbox without making sure her hair and makeup and everything was perfect. but again, it was just cruel. It was just a cruel thing. And I was so glad when we finally moved out of that congregation and we never had to see that family ever again after that.
Yeah.
Never again.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, it's interesting because it's those kind of behaviors that can really stumble a person and they don't get for a long, long time. I'm sorry that happened to you, Scott, and your former wife.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And can't you tell that Scott is very sincere? Does he sound like a man that called up the 6 screens tonight and made this up? You can just tell that's a sincere man. And that would be troubling. And he's right. The elders should have came to him and said, gee, Scott, your wife is dressing a little bit, risque here. Maybe you could calm her down. No, they have a meeting like that? How disappointing that would be to you. Jeez.
Sometimes they just do it because the sister's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, that probably happened to you, Pixie, right?
To report on a case in Mozambique. The brother has tried to leave, and he's being hounded on his island nation. So that might be something somebody wants to look at, too.
Yeah, that's an ongoing thing right now. We didn't have time to bring it up here in the news tonight, but that's an ongoing thing, and we hope that brother does well. Thank you, Pixie, for bringing that up. Yeah, so you're on the 6 screens telenetwork, everybody. Now, don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Now, we have right after the news tonight, in about an hour, we have a man that everybody loves. He's a Canadian man, and he's big time on YouTube right now. He's a big hit, Fixing Your Faith. His name is Vern, and everybody knows Vern, and he's got a program coming up next right here. He's filling in for Eric and Awakening After the Watchtower. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us because Vern from Fixing My Faith will be coming up next with his program. Well, I have to tell you, the August 2024 Watchtower, that is the talk of the town, as the old saying goes, and not to beat it to death. It was the big elephant in the room, right? I mean, really, for the last couple of weeks here. And but I got doing some research, and I'm finding that this really isn't as new light as some would portray it to be. The Watchtower actually recycles the new light from 1974. I did a little bit of research on this because I remember one time back in the early 80s that you could actually speak to a disfellowship person Do you remember that? They actually said it would be okay. It'd be up to your conscience. Very much what the Watchtower is doing today. Now, I'm going to read you something here that I think is necessary to read. Okay, now this is going back to 1974. Now listen to this. This is right out of the Watchtower. Watchtower 74, it is August 1st, page 4. It says, as to disfellowship family members, not minor sons or daughters living outside the home, each family must decide to what extent they will have association with such ones. Let me just clarify that for you. So if you have family members that are living outside your home, it's up to you whether, and they're so-called going against the Watchtower, it's up to you whether you will have association with such ones. So they're saying back in 1974 that it's up to your conscience. And then it goes on to say, this is not something that the congregation elders can decide for them. Well, they're saying the same thing now in the August 2024 Watchtower. So nothing new under the sun here. So they're saying that the elders would not be the ones to decide whether you could have association with people that have kind of left the Watchtower. So what the elders are concerned with is that the leaven is not introduced into the congregation through spiritual fellowshipping with those who had to remove from such leaven. Now, okay, stop there. Now, we all remember, if you're old enough, maybe some of the new ones listening in aren't old enough to remember, but I remember back then that you could, according to the Watchtower article here, you could actually talk with a disfellowshipped family member, as long as you didn't engage in spiritual discussion. You could talk with them and about anything else, maybe about family matters, maybe about business matters, but you could not discuss with them spiritual matters. So I wanted to bring that up. That's right out of the 1974 Watchtower. So this Watchtower, 2024 Watchtower August, it's really just old light being new light. So they recycle it. The Watchtower is famous for doing this. Now, that article, by the way, in 1974 was written by a man by the name of Raymond Franz. Well, he was a governing body member, and he's the one that really came up with that article, so to speak. And he was more or less suggesting that, really don't come down on people so harshly. So that is a fascinating discussion, a fascinating thing that I ran across. So it was really left up to you to decide whether you would have relationship with a disfellowship one in your family. But, this is exactly what seems to be happening today. But the reason why, you're probably saying, well, why did they change it, Rick? Well, what happened and when did they change it? Well, I'll just give you, I'm not going to go into a whole detail here, but Raymond Franz, as we know, he was a dissenter. He was a governing body member. He wrote the book, The Crisis of Conscience. He really became an apostate, so to speak. He didn't really want to be involved with the Watchtower anymore. So they were really watching Raymond Franz very, very closely. And, prior to him being disfellowshipped, it was up to one's conscience, as they're suggesting now, whether you want to associate. Now, what happened with Raymond Franz is when he left the Watchtower, he didn't leave. He wasn't disfellowshipped and left. They were waiting for a reason. They were trying to find a reason to disfellowship him, because they know that he would open his mouth and start talking as he did. So what they did is they had to come up with the disfellowshipping once again. So this happened in the early 80s, where they came up and they changed it once again so that they could disfellowship Raymond Franz. And when Raymond Franz was let go from Watchtower, there was a brother that was his presiding overseer in the congregation that he went to in New York. And the brother liked Ray, and the brother had a number of pioneers. He had a little he had a little, wasn't a grocery store. That was Gregerson. That came later. But he had a little coffee shop, so to speak, and Ray worked there. And so he knew that there was going to be trouble because Ray was working at his little coffee shop. So what the brother did is he disassociated himself. Now, back then, prior to the 1980s, if you disassociated yourself, it was okay. It wasn't as bad as being disfellowshipped. So they had to start back in the early 80s. The Watchtower had to start coming up with some new laws and regulations on how can we got to get at Ray Franz. We got to do something to him. We can't have this man go on talking. So what they did is they said that disassociation back then would be the same as disfellowshipping. Now we know that today it is the same. But back then it wasn't. If you disassociated yourself, that was different. People still would speak to you. But they had to find a way to get rid of Ray Franz, keep his mouth shut so the other witnesses wouldn't listen to him. So what they did is they reinstituted, or at least came up with the idea that disassociation would be the same as disfellowshipping. Then that brother that gave him a job would be considered disfellowshipped. And the new ruling was that if one was disfellowshipped and you spoke with a disfellowshipped one, you could be disfellowshipped. So that's why they reintroduced disfellowshipping. And that's so the brother who was disassociated now is considered to be like disfellowship, same thing. He had a meal with Ray Franz, and he was actually disfellowshipped as well as Ray Franz. But friends, that's not the Peter Gregerson story. That's how Franz got disfellowship. There's another story very similar with Peter Gregerson on how he got disfellowship because he had a meal with Ray Franz. I don't want to convolute the story, but I'm just trying to give you a little history. From 74 up until the early 80s, you could talk. As long as it wasn't spiritual, you could talk to a disfellowship one without being chastised. So I think most people knew that. Maybe not, but I know there's many listening to the program that remember that. We could talk to disfellowship ones at one time. And then in the 80s, they got rid of it. And now they're going back to it again. 925, what would you like to say? You're on with us. Go ahead. 925, you want to speak up? Go ahead.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
I go back that far, and what you just said, just to back you up, is absolutely true. This is a pasta dude. And, yeah, I mean, and so then it gets into what is always driving the new light. And they're always playing control games with what they and of course they always patch in scripture and all these ideas of moral, appropriateness, but they're swinging from one end to the other. In 74, they lightened up on the disfellowshipping standards, and then the Ray Franz thing really put the pinch on them, and then they got the new light. We got to clamp down. Now this new one that's just come up in the August 24 is quite a downplay from the assembly that was back in 16, somewhere between 16 and 18, where they really pressed in and said if somebody's not really active in the ministry, if they're not out and they miss meetings, they virtually told you to shun people like that. So that's not working out really good.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
It does vacillate.
It does. So it's what goes around comes around. But I just wanted to make a comment. I see people writing in on YouTube. They're saying, well, Rick might not have it right. Let me just make it clear. People are going to be very, very confused. I know that basically it's only at meetings that you can greet a disfellowship one. But, some people are going to say, well, if I can do it there, I can do it in the supermarket. So it's going to really be twisted. It's going to be convoluted. It's going to be very, very difficult for people to really draw the line, talking or not. So I think it's, in 1975 is when they went back to the hard line. Basically, they started doing that after their failed prophecy. But, it was very free there for a while. You could speak to your relatives as long, or you could speak to any disfellowship one, as long as it wasn't spiritual. But I have to tell you, when I stop and think about all of the flip flops in the organization, these guys have more flip flops than beachfront hotels. Seriously, they did back and forth all the time. Yep.
That's exactly right. Rick, remember how in that 74 article, what they did was they came in with an illustration. They said, suppose a sister who's disfellowshipped is on the way to the meeting and she has a flat tire. Wouldn't it be appropriate to be, go in, fix the flat tire, and then they padded in some other thing. Well, there's a lot of witnesses since they changed back to hardline, just say, too bad. They're on the devil's side, and that's why they got a flat tire.
It's cruel. It's very, very cruel. But that's why I say there's a power struggle. The world is waking up to how cruel disfellowshipping is. Countries are cutting off funds to the Watchtower. Countries don't even want the Watchtower to be in their country anymore. So the governing body is at odds with the legal department, and they're fighting back and forth. That's why we have the Watchtower 2024 edition in August. And they haven't really changed too much, but what they did change is they're not going to use the word disfellowshipping. They're going to use the word removed. You see, this is all, semantics. This is all a play on words.
That's the word. That's the word I was thinking of, was semantics. And they did similar things in that European country where they were having blood issues, and they just told the government, okay, we'll no longer disfellowship people who get blood transfusion. And then on the inside, it was you're automatically disassociating yourself, so we will also treat you the same. That's just semantics, you're right. And they constantly do that. They're playing with the language all the time. And just to game it out, maintain control. Control is they say the elders have to work and be diligent to keep the congregation clean. You just throw that word clean out. It's control. That's what a big issue is. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you, brother. Good to hear from you. Let's go to 804.
In 1975, I've talked to some of my friends that are still in. They claim it never happened. And it's like they get amnesia. Every time you bring up something that did happen, they get amnesia over this. It's just like that. I wish you could tell me where you saw that picture of the Samaritan's erection. To talk to a friend of mine who's in, I told him about the songbook with the penis. He sees it and he doesn't believe it. He says it's something else. I've tried to go on jw.org to find this Good Samaritan shot, and I cannot find it. It's like, I don't know if they've taken it down, but the ones that are in, they are blinded to these. They can look at that right there, and they swear that that's not what we see. I just don't get it.
Well, they republished the songbook. If I might cut in there, they republished it and took the black guy who had the penis. It was kind of like his hand was, and they took that guy out, put a white guy in. Everything else was the same. It was that colored songbook, that bright yellow one before the gray. And so that's one thing you can't. I have that. I keep copies of that. And then this new thing I haven't seen yet, but yeah, it's all in there. And page 50, I believe, of the Revelation book, there's a claw hand in there. They've got all kinds of subliminal stuff that's just over the top. So yeah, and it's just not. Sorry, Ricky, I was talking to you, but I was there. I'm telling you, you can't get gaslighting any more gassy than saying nothing happened in 75. I was there. It was a thing. Thanks. Anyway, I'm out.
Well, good comment. Look, we got that picture. We got that picture up. I took that still picture right off of jw.org, their official website. Now, if someone wants that picture, you can see the picture. If you're watching on YouTube, that is a picture right there of the Good Samaritan. And there he is with the man he's trying to help. And there you see something that looks very unusual under the blanket or under the sheet. You know what it is. I don't have to tell you. But that is a terrible picture that's not even subliminal. And that's right. If you want to go to jw.org, go to videos, look under videos, and there's a Gilead graduation. There's two of them in videos. You want to go to the one with the man that has the beige suit on. Go to that video. The brother has a beige suit. Hit that. Go in 8 minutes and 43 seconds. And you're going to see that picture. That picture is unbelievable. And if someone can't tell me, they can tell me that just a slip in the artwork. We're looking into it more than we should. No, that's a deliberate attempt to show it. Not only that, take a look outside the window. What is that outside the window? That's a donkey. Well, what's another name for a donkey? Ass. Now, we have a man that has an erection. Okay. Then we have an ass. I mean, can you put the two together? I don't want to get too, pornographic here on you, but I mean, that is right off of jw.org. I showed the picture last week. All right. Just because the brother brought it up, I thought I'd show it to you again. All right. So I did want to just mention a few things here about the Watchtower. They were really having a hard time to come out with this 2024 edition. That's why they kind of hesitated bringing it out. The September edition, like I said earlier, came out before the August edition. So they struggled with it. But now what I'm finding is the September issue and kind of going through that. So there's an article in the September edition of the Watchtower. It says a letter that can help us to endure faithfully to the end. Oh, what's that all about? Well, it discusses the early Hebrew Christians and how some former Jews struggled with new light. They know darn well that the rank and file witness is going to be struggling with new light, especially from the August edition of the Watchtower. So in September, they're going to come out and say how, some of the former Jews struggled with new light. Friends, this is for the last few years here in the Six Screens, ever since 2013, I've counted at least 3 times where the Watchtower has said in print, that, you're going to hear some things that don't make any sense from a human standpoint, but just go along with it. How many times have we discussed that? Could this be part of it all? Has this all been planned years in advance? Could be. The Watchtower is in deep doo-doo. They've got to do something to get this organization back on track, and they are struggling to do it. So I just want to bring it up. Any more thoughts on Watchtower 24 before we move on to the next subject here? Any more thoughts on that at all? By all means, if you do, hit *6 and let us know. It's very unsettling. I don't think there's too much that has changed. I think that a lot of brothers and sisters are going to be very confused on what to do. Do we talk to a disfellowship one? Don't we talk to one? Is it possible we can greet one? Can we do it outside the Kingdom Hall? There's going to be so many questions to all of this. Well, why put, the rank and file right now, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're busting their butt just to pay their rent, make their car payments, to be able to put food on the table. Why do we need an organization bringing such encumbrance on these people? Geez, these poor people, they have a hard enough time just living in the world we are, and yet at the same time, Watchtower is overloading their donkey. How much can they take? Yes.
Rick, I was thinking, the Watchtower never puts the publisher first. They're never trying to kindly help them. All they care about is existing as an organization. And if they have to use the brothers to do it, they will. And poor brothers, well, it's your fault, you took a blood transfusion. We said that it was up to your conscience. Now, let's say you're having all kinds of family trouble. Well, Jehovah's, making you suffer because you made the wrong decision. I mean, they're doing all kinds of things to take the blame off of themselves where it belongs and putting it on the brothers where it doesn't belong. We're supposed to be learning. They're supposed to be the faithful slave. They're supposed to give us spiritual food at the proper time. They're supposed to be loving shepherds. They're none of those things. I can't think. I would ask anybody to give an experience where someone. Now there are people that on their own are kind and loving. Don't get me wrong, in the organization, but mostly they're not. And in fact, I have found Jehovah's Witnesses to be very unloving, to be very rule oriented, and to have no mercy on anyone. So it's just disgusting to me that this organization, they're not only using the brothers, they're using brothers mentally, and they're using their money. They're doing everything to try and just squeeze every drop of blood out of them.
Well, that's what they're doing, Susan. And I mean, you're not the only one noticing it. We're all noticing it. As a matter of fact, not only the people who have left the Watchtower, but even the people that are still in it are starting to notice it. Thank you, Susan. Always like your comments. Thank you, honey. That's my wife, Susan. She's a wonderful girl, and she's going to be back on with me soon doing the news. That'll be wonderful. So we're looking forward to Susan coming back and being with us. We've got here. Okay, do we have someone who wants to come on and say something? Go ahead, you're on with us.
Well, I just wanted to say that it's really horrible what they're doing. Actually, I was on a funeral today, Jehovah's Witness funeral, and they were using the funeral to say that it's to have a good reputation with Jehovah. So they were actually saying like she had a good reputation in front of Jehovah. So they are using the funeral to scare people like, well, more or less they are saying, you make sure you have a good reputation the day you die. That's what they essentially are saying. So it's really horrible.
Wow.
Something that really irritates me about Sweden is that we are lagging in information because we have so much on the news in United States about Pennsylvania and the pedophiles and everything, that we are lagging here in Sweden. Nobody knows anything what's going on, I feel. And I was actually appalled because they actually said that, we have also had the assemblies here in Sweden, and they actually said that we have 3 new baptized person in my congregation, and that's really disgusting. But we are shrinking a little bit. Some people are dying off also, and I lost my train of thoughts now. But anyway.
Well, Grace, what you're saying is they don't really. In America, we seem to be on the cutting edge of exposing what's going on in the Watchtower. But you don't hear much of that in Sweden, huh?
Yeah, and that's a problem, I guess. So I hopefully, sooner or later, they will start to talk about it in Sweden also, because we really need it here. Something that really encouraged me was this elder's wife. She has 3 children, and none of her children is coming to the Kingdom Hall. So that's a good thing. But I actually see there's a lot of people in the congregation. They aren't too old. They're more to the younger side, I feel. So that's really disturbing to me because they all have internet. So why are they at Kingdom Hall? Well, that's all from me. Thank you.
Well, Grace, always good to hear from you. But, keep listening to the 6 Greens. You're going to get it right from the country the Watchtower is headquartered in. I don't know why they're not speaking up in Sweden, but they're speaking up here in America, Grace. Thank you for coming in. Thank you very much. So we have got the announcements for July. We want to thank our good friend Atlantis, the undercover man at the Watchtower, for giving us some information. Now, this is very fascinating to me. We read you these announcements that we get every month, but we got some weird things going on here in the congregation. In fact, it's going to be ticking a lot of sisters off. The sisters are not going to like these announcements and reminders. Now, you remember when you were a witness, and usually during the midweek meeting, an elder or a servant would get up, and we're going to read you the announcements from the Watchtower, and people will be intently listening in. I used to want to hear the reminders and the announcements myself, but here it is for July 2024. It says the elders are to read this to the congregation. Helping young brothers make spiritual progress. As Jehovah's organization continues to grow, more brothers are needed to care for practical congregation tasks. Yes, a lot of the older brothers, I think, are leaving, so they need more younger ones. It says, thank you for helping younger brothers help grow in their relationship with Jehovah. Are these baptized brothers in your congregation who are in their early teens or younger? Are they exemplary in personal study habits? Do they regularly comment at meetings and share in the field ministry? If so, give them assignments that are appropriate to their age and circumstances. In this way, these young brothers can be tested as to fitness. Then the time they are in their late teens, they can likely qualify to be ministerial servants. So they're really trying to get all these young brothers to, prune them ahead of time. Now, notice this. So they're talking here about, first of all, brothers who are baptized. Make sure you're using them. Move them forward. Now, the next paragraph goes into something a little different. Congregation tasks for exemplary unbaptized male publishers. So here you have a different category. You had the baptized brothers first, but now the Watchtower is reaching out to unbaptized male publishers. The governing body is pleased to inform you the exemplary unbaptized male publishers may also be used to care for some congregation tasks that are appropriate for their age and circumstances. For example, an exemplary male publisher in his early teens or younger, maybe 10, 12, they want to use this brother, or younger, may be used to handle microphones and operate the sound and video equipment if permission has been granted by their parent or guardian. Now, here is the most disturbing part of this letter. This is getting a lot of sisters bent out of shape. Now, if sisters, this is right from the Watchtower, I'm reading their letter, if sisters are currently being used to care for some of these practical tasks, please assign exemplary brothers, baptized or unbaptized, to care for the work. If there are not enough brothers, please contact the circuit overseer for direction before using sisters. So they don't want to use sisters anymore. I mean, this is a blow to the sisters. The sisters have been given the axe, so to speak. They're now to use, in place of sisters, an unbaptized male publisher, say like even a 10-year-old, to pass the microphones rather than a sister. Excuse me. So don't you think this could be upsetting? Don't you think that sisters, there's really nothing in the organization for sister. What incentive is there for any sister to remain in this organization? I mean, they're not qualified. The only thing they're qualified to do is clean bathrooms, become a pioneer, be a good elder's wife. Well, what can they really do? This is a big insult. I'm sure it's a big insult to the sisters. Sisters were used in many congregations. They were used heavily. A lot of them were used for sound and mics, but now they can't do that. They're going to use a little 10-year-old unbaptized person before they use a qualified sister. So, sisters are upset about this. I'm already getting reports coming into the 6 screens. One in particular here, the man was telling me that his wife had the privilege of actually passing the microphones, and she liked it. She felt like she was important. She felt like it was really good. And then after the announcement, she was very, very disappointed. And so she was even saying that, well, maybe the circuit overseer will make an exception for me. Maybe he'll let me continue to do it. She loved her job. Listen, sisters love that job too. So now they're going to use a 10-year-old male, unbaptized publisher over a mature sister. I mean, this is, I hope the women can see this. This is nothing but pure misogyny. This is misogyny. This is, I'm not going to say woman hate, but that's what the term basically means. It's misogyny. You don't like woman. You don't like women. You really don't. So the governing body, once again, I can see them shooting themselves in the foot. Geez, you have all of these women that are so gung-ho, Jehovah's loyal army of sisters, so to speak. They're gung-ho. They want to do something. And now the governing body is actually taken away from them. So I try to do a little research. What does the Bible actually say about sisters carrying microphones? Well, the Bible doesn't say anything about sisters carrying microphones, but what does it say in general about sisters and what their role would be in the church, so to speak? So there's a few scriptures that come to mind, but I'm just not going to get into a lot of scripture tonight. But I can just think of 1 Timothy 2:12. This is the one the Watchtower uses a lot. It says, do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a male, but she is to remain silent. That's the flagship scripture the Watchtower uses. 1 Timothy 2:12. Now, this really is a little, ambiguous when you stop and think about it, because, don't women have a part in the Jehovah's Witness organization? The organization lets them give parts on the program. They give comments at the meeting. Wouldn't that be somewhat teaching? They're expressing their thoughts and trying to teach the congregation. So, really, they have been given an unfair position here. When you stop and think about handling a microphone, this shouldn't come into play. This has nothing to do with a sister teaching. They're just handling a microphone. It's a silent job. It's something they would feel good about. But yet at the same time, the Watchtower is taking that away from them. So, a lot of sisters right now, they're ticked off. They're ticked off big time because of the Watchtower. And, how many sisters, listen, sisters, they got a brain too, even though Brother Hurd seems to think they're not as smart as a man could be. But, I'm going to tell you something. This is going to irritate them. They're not going to, there's going to be many sisters that say, that's it. Well, what do I really do? I bust my butt. I'm trying to work hard. I want to help the Watchtower. And all they do is throw garbage at me. That's what's going on in the Watchtower. What do you guys think? You think the sisters will be irritated over all of this? I'd love to hear from you. Go ahead, it's *6. Were you a sister? Yes, Dick.
Yeah, just a quick thought. When I got baptized, I was 25 years old. And the week after I get baptized, I show up at Kingdom Hall service, and I'm the only brother there. And I'm thinking, well, I'm just sitting in the back. Oh, brother, you have to go up front. You have to take the lead. Well, I didn't want to take the lead because I never have done it before and wasn't trained on how to do it. And I felt so sorry for some of those sisters that were in their 60s and 70 years old, had been pioneers or have been in the Watchtower for 40 years, and Brother Borgie, can I go with Sister So and So to a back call? Yeah, go ahead and go. It must be embarrassing. It must feel kind of silly asking someone like myself if they can go on a back call with another sister when this is the very first time I was out in service by myself. I just think it belittles the sisters, and I think you're right. I don't think they're going to like it at all. Thanks, Rick.
Well, thank you, Dick. And then, you know, I can put legs on this. You know, we can have this policy walk all over the map. Okay, let's take it into another realm of the witness world. Let's say at the Kingdom Hall, you have, 6 gung-ho pioneer sisters, been in the organization for years. So they meet for service at the Kingdom Hall, and they're all going to go out on the pioneer work. But there is no elder that shows up. But lo and behold, there's the son of one of the sisters. He's an unbaptized brother. He's 10 years old. So when it comes time to saying a prayer, who do you think is going to say the prayer? Not the sisters, by all means, not the sisters. So you're going to have a little 10-year-old unbaptized publisher say the prayer for service when you have mature sisters that could say it eloquently. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't to me. Well, anyways, you're on JW World News. What do you think, 717? I want to hear from you.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's all about the subordination of women. That's what it's about. And just like it is by the Taliban of Afghanistan.
Oh, very similar. I don't see much difference. Pretty much the same. Yep.
The ones who make the rules up there, I say, why don't they move their tails to Afghanistan or to the Middle East or something? If they want to subordinate females and be this jihadic attitude they got towards females and have it that just because they're male that they're in charge in the Bible.
Well, there you go. No, it wasn't. This is all changing. 717. It's all changing, and we're witnessing and seeing things that it's hard to even believe. It's hard to believe the Watchtower is doing some of the things they're doing now. Well, thank you for checking in with us. Thank you.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
Just
coming.
what Dick said.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I think because you see many churches and they got female pastors, female deacons, and so many of them. And
yeah, well, there you go. It's altogether different. Hey, thank you, 717. Thank you for coming in and being on 6 Screens tonight. Thank you. Don't you be a stranger. You come back and see us again. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Well, we have got, don't go anywhere. Do not go anywhere. We have got some great programming coming up next. In about 10, 15 minutes, we have a man coming in. He's a big-time YouTuber right now. He's from Canada. His name is Vern. He's going to be coming on here next. He's got a program. He's filling in for Eric on the Awakening After the Watchtower program. He's coming in from Canada. He has a lot of things. He's going to talk about Watchtower disturbances. Have you been disturbed by the Watchtower? Their spiritual disturbances? Well, he's going to be talking about that tonight. His name is Vern. You know him as the YouTuber Fixing My Faith. He's coming on very shortly. We're so proud to have him to come on and be with us tonight and fill in for Eric. Before we do that, okay, let's do this. We'll bring on a couple more callers. Then we're going to go with a duck. We got some questions. We're going to be bringing in and asking to win some books here. Let's go to Australia. Run with us. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi Rick, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, just a comment on the previous witnesses never looked at the big picture with the sisters. A couple of things that we consider. didn't Angel Gabriel visit Mary and who was John the Baptist's mother? Like, he visited them in person. Obviously, they held some importance to God. There's that for people that read the Bible. And I was going to say the whole thing about how you're perceived by people is just such a big witness philosophy. Like the term they used is whoever's in good standing. A good standing is by what everyone sees. So you're groomed as a kid to be basically a faker. You put on an act all the time because that's how everyone sees what you behave like is how you're judged. So a lot of these people are living double lives. They don't act the same way as what they do at Kingdom Hall. They put a suit on, they're squeaky clean, and wow, you can do microphones. What a joke. Anyway, that's all I had to say, Rick. Thank you.
All right, Tim. Yeah, next time we're going to get you closer to your microphone. We can hear you, but we can hear you better. Make sure we get that microphone nice and close to your face. Okay, let's go to 602. 602, you're on with us. Go ahead.
Hey, Rick, this is Gigi, and I think I know what the word of the day is. I think it's Gigi for GB. But on a serious note, I wanted to tell you about this. I agree with you on the misogyny thing, but let me help you with this quote. I think it's going to help you in the future. Misogyny is what misogyny does, kind of like the Forrest Gump. So it's not a matter of our opinion of whether Watchtower is a misogynist organization. It's what do they do? Jesus talked about the tree, right? The fruit. So misogyny is what misogyny does, and Watchtower can't help it. They just can't help it. That's what they do. And here's the other thing. Do you know why, Rick? It makes perfect sense. Because if we give women a little bit of power and they take a little bit more power, do you think they would have a child sex abuse problem in the Watchtower if women had a little bit more power? It's a simple question, and we know the answer. The answer is no. Here we have a group of men that self-elect themselves. They're not elected amongst the Jehovah's Witness religion, except for me. I'm the only one that's an elected Jehovah's Witness governing body member, where people actually mail their votes that they can get on ggforgb.com, and they can vote in whatever language they choose. But that's the whole point, because these group of men self-elect themselves, and they have this little group, this little secret society. They can abuse children. They can treat women this way. So misogyny is what misogyny does. This is why what you said was 100% true. I just wanted to keep it simple. KISS, K-I-S-S. I wanted to keep it very simple. And I think you'll like that. Misogyny is what misogyny does.
Well, there you go. There you go again, making me look good. Making me look good. Thank you. Thank you, Gilbert. All right. That's Gilbert Gonzalez. You got a program, Tale of Two Witnesses. He'll be back with us next week, next Saturday night, right here with his brother Jesse on the Six Screens Telenetwork. Okay, let's go to the Duck. We got some beautiful books I want to give you. We've got this book right here. This is actually a Watchtower publication. Many people probably aren't aware of it. The Bible for Science, the Bible for the Scientist. There you go, right there. Then we got this one. You guys all remember this one. Millions Now Living Will Never Die. Oh, this is a good one. People are requesting this one right here. People for His Name's Sake. They're the presidents of the Watchtower. What were they all about? But this is my favorite one right here. Captives of a Concept. Don Cameron, he talks about what is the nucleus. What is the nucleus of the Watchtower organization? He claims it's the faithful and discreet slave. Without the faithful and discreet slave, the Watchtower is cooked. I believe him. Great book. I want to give some of these books away. So no one, to my knowledge, said the secret word tonight. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you some clues. To see if you can say the word that we were looking for. Now, I'm going to play music. It's going to be Jeopardy music, but I don't want anyone to answer until the music stops. Please work with me with that, because it gets very, very difficult. So I can't watch the people on Facebook. I'm sorry. I can only watch so many things. I can't even watch everybody in the chat. I'll try, but mostly it's from the telephone line. So if you know the answer to our question, dial that number on the YouTube screen right now. Be ready to go with this. So let's ask, I want to give some books away. Jim Hill, he's nice enough. He's a former Jehovah's Witness out of Washington State, and he's so interested in wanting to help the witnesses. He gives me these books to give to you. So we'll mail them out to you. Thank you, Jim. All right, so let's go with this one. And don't answer until the music stops. If you answer before, we're going to disqualify you from it. So anyways, I'm going to give you a clue. This is a scripture talking about Jehovah's name. Where would you find it? Okay. Where,
83, 18.
hold on one second. Now, I heard a lot of people talking during the music. Only talk when the music stops. So go ahead. Who was saying? Give me that scripture again.
Psalms 83, 18.
Who was that?
Thomas Hodgson here in Lawrence, Kansas.
All right, Thomas. All right. I know we sent you some books out, but we get well, I'll send you another book, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Well, what books did you get? Just so I don't send the same one.
I'll tell you in a heartbeat here. Okay, the two I have. Okay, one's the desolation, the sanctuary, and a people for his name. I've got those two.
All right, we'll get you one that's a little different. I'll send you out Don Cameron.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas.
Very nice.
All right. Well, you got it. Well, thank you. All right. So we got another question here. All right. Let's go to the second question. I'm going to give you a clue. Nobody said it tonight. These are Watchtower words. I was hoping that someone calling into the program would have said it, but I didn't hear it. If you heard it, let me know. But let's go with this. Okay. Don't answer until the music stops. So anyways, somewhere in the universe is where Jehovah lives. So somewhere in the universe, where does Jehovah live?
Ladies, that's it.
All right, who said that? Who said that? I think
That would be me.
I think it was someone before you, Dick. Was it someone that said it before Dick? Did I hear Pallades from someone? Well, Dick, it's you again. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're too good at this. You're too good at this. You
Connie told me.
did. Well, Connie should get the books. All right. I forget what books I sent you, but I'll find something to send you. Okay. All right. So that's it. Pallades. That's where God lived. All right. So let's do this. Don't answer until the music stops. And I appreciate all you guys being very, very patient, but we don't want to do that. All right. So let's go with this. If you're listening in, Vern, hang in with us. We're going to end this program very shortly. Then we're going to bring you on. Let me just see if Vern's in our other studio getting ready to come on. I don't want to keep him waiting too long. Let's see. Okay, no, he's not in there yet. All right, so let's keep going with the program here with the secret words. Now, I'm going to give you a clue. And it has to do with when we all went to the conventions. Well, they were brothers. They were brothers that were outside the convention. And they were walking around with signs like, be quiet, get your seat, please. What did we call those brothers? Hang on. Let's play the music. All right. So what do we call those brothers? Well, hold on. Go slow now. Go slow so I can hear exactly what you said. Go ahead, brother.
Attendance.
Not attendance, no. What do we call those brothers? They walked around with signs. Of course, they were mostly ministerial servants. They were attendants, but they had a special word. And if you were one, that's what you were called. Does anyone recall? Okay. All right. They were called hall monitors. Hall monitors. You probably didn't hear that term too often. All right, let's go with one more. All right. For those listening in, I want to give these books away. Then we're going to go into our other program here very shortly. One more, and then we'll go to our program with Vern. All right, let's in the 20s and 30s, the Watchtower publishers would show up at conventions. And of course, Rutherford said that it was a snare and a racket. So anyways, it was a snare and a racket, and they would show up conventions, and they would be wearing something. And what they were wearing kind of identified their message. I want an answer. Wait till the music stops. What were they wearing?
Sandwich board.
Sandwich boards.
And crown.
Well, a sandwich board. No, it was a sandwich board. Who said sandwich board?
Right here.
Well, who is this? Apostle. Well, I'll tell you what. Apostle dude, send me your physical address. I will send you a nice publication here that I have. That was a hard one, Apostle. That Apostle dude, that was a hard one. I'm glad you got it. That was very hard. Very hard. So.
Yeah, I remember those.
Did you ever wear a sandwich board?
No, but I knew this anointed sister. I have the old Rutherford recordings and all kinds of ancient stuff, and I came in long enough ago to know that.
Well, good for you. Thank you for answering. My goodness, I didn't think someone was going to get that. I thought I was going to stump. All right, we've got one more. Fixing Your Faith says we can do another one. Then he's going to be coming on. So you get ready, Vern. We're going to get you. I sent you a link in your email. So we'll get ready to come bring you on the program. So let's do one other one here. Now, back in the 1920s, and even going into the early part of the 30s, the Watchtower was trying to get the message out. You know, they had their Watchtower publications. They had their Cole Porters going door to door, but they had a very unique way of doing it. Let's say that it revolved around something that was mobile, something that was mobile. Hold on one second. Don't say a thing till the music stops. I gave it a little extra time there. I'm gonna go. We have a man. I saw him came up very fast. Jay on our chat in YouTube. Jay, I think you're the winner. I seen you come up very fast. So we're gonna go with Jay. Jay, if you're listening in, write me at JW World News. Say, hey Rick, I'm the guy that said sound car. I'll send you out a publication, but give me an email address. Not email address. Give me a physical address so I can send it to you. I'm going to just check over here. I'm going to see if Vern is in here. Vern, we got to get you in. If you're listening in, hit that link and we'll bring you into StreamYard. Okay, there's Vern. Okay, Vern, you hold on. We're going to bring Vern on. He's there. He's waiting. So we're going to be ready to bring Vern on. Thank you, Vern, for wanting to participate tonight. Well, friends, that's about it. There's no Six Screen Sunday tomorrow. It's every other Sunday. But I want to thank everyone for coming into the Six Screens tonight. We had a good night. We had a lot of participation, lots of people calling in. Now, normally we would go to Awakening after the Watchtower with our good friend, former Jehovah's Witness, Eric out of Tennessee, but he couldn't come on tonight. He wasn't feeling that good. So we got Vern from Canada, the Fixing My Faith guy, and how glad we are to have him come on and filling in for Eric. So let me just bring him on before we go live. And let me just make sure that we can all hear Vern. Let me add him to the stage here right now. Hello, Vern. Well, oh, we can hear you fine. Well, thank you for wanting to come on tonight. I wanted to, well, you're making some big points there on YouTube, so we wanted to bring you on. So you just hang in there with us. We can hear you fine. So we're gonna end this program, JW World News, and you're gonna come on. You're gonna come on next. So stay with us. Just give us about a minute or two. All right, so that's Vern from Fixing My Faith. He's coming up next. So, anyways, I want to tell you this. I want you guys to keep standing tall. Don't you ever give up. Keep exposing the Watchtower. Keep standing tall. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower. Please turn off the new light. We've got Vern coming up next. Stay with us. All right, we're going to end this program here. And then we're going to go to Vern. So let me just end this program right here. The Fixing My Faith program up next. Well, that's the man that's going to do the program, Eric. Let's stop it right here. All right, ending the stream.